Hi friends, it's Paisleyandglue here, and today we are going to be talking about measurements. When I take commissions and make clothes for other people, I need a full set of measurements on them. Sort of a general, I'm a 12 or I'm a 6 doesn't really help a lot. So usually when you have something made by someone else, they're going to ask you for a very specific set of measurements. So today we are going to be talking about the ones that I asked for, and this is the same measurement sheet that I have used for years in theater. So we're going to be talking about how to take those measurements on your body to make sure that the garment that you are having made for you is the best that it can be, and the person making it has all the information. You really need to give them an accurate representation of your size so that they can make sure that they can make the garment fit you to the best of their ability. So the first thing I always ask for is a general height and weight, but it just gives us in our mind a basic sort of where are we starting from. And then it's also helpful to know what size clothes you buy yourself. And you can say small, medium, or large in t-shirts, but what we're really looking for are 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 for people who wear women's clothes, and for people who wear men's clothes, shirt sizes, if we ask for that, we're looking for the neck measurement and the sleeve measurement. So like say 16 and a half, 34, or we're looking for a pant size, which is going to be the waist that you buy yourself and the inseam. And we are going to also take those measurements, but what your jeans waist says it is not actually what it measures. So that can be a little confusing. So it's helpful for us to know what you buy yourself, especially if we're supplementing with some shopped pieces or altering pieces to make them into something else. What you usually buy yourself is a good thing to know. So I always ask shirt, pant, dress, a bra size is very important, and a shoe size. Also, we'd like to know if you're right or left-handed. Often, whatever your dominant side is going to be ever so slightly larger, both around the shoulder and in the bicep and forearm. So we want to make sure that we're not measuring the smaller arm, and then it's a little bit too snug depending on what we're making it on the other arm. Any allergies, especially to detergents, will often pre-wash fabric, so we need to know if you have fabric allergies or to wools or something of the like, or detergent allergies. I always use free and clear things, but others may not, so it's good to tell them that before you get started. What else do I like to know before we start? Before you measure yourself, the most important thing, first of all, get a buddy. That's maybe second most important thing. The most important thing is to be wearing the correct undergarments. So if this is not something that the commissioner is whoever is making the clothes for you, if you're not wearing the right undergarments, they're not going to get accurate measurements from you. So make sure that if you are a person who wears bras, that you are wearing the bra that you think you might wear with the costume or with the garment. That includes if it has any push-up or special attributes like that. You make sure that you're wearing any binders, any shapers, anything like that might change your body shape a little bit. It's also important when you are taking measurements that involve sort of from the neck to the floor or to the waist to the floor, that you're wearing the right shoes. So if you think you're going to be wearing heels for this costume, that you make sure that you're wearing shoes with either the shoes you're going to be wearing or a shoe that has the same heel height. And that's critical, because if you don't wear shoes while you're taking your measurements and you think you're going to be wearing 4-inch heels for the costume and it's a dress that goes to the floor, your dress is going to be 4 inches too short. And there's often not a lot that you can do about it at that point. So shoes, undergarments, get a friend to help you. A lot of these are much easier to take if you have someone else to help you, especially when we get to the back and to things below the waist. And then we can get started. So the first thing that I will sometimes ask, I'm going to go through all of the measurements. You're obviously not going to need to take all of these if you are doing, depending on what someone's making for you. I'm just going to go through all of them just so you know in case you need them. If I ask for head circumference, that's going to be right around the forehead at the widest part of the head. And make sure that your measuring tape is horizontal around the widest part of your head, and that's going to be your head circumference. From there, you can get a hat size or make a crown, or there's a lot of different things that could be helpful to have that measurement for. The next one is going to be the mid-neck and the base of the neck. So the mid-neck is going to be right around the middle. Again, you're going to take it parallel to the ground around sort of the smallest part of your neck. The base of your neck is going to be right around your clavicle. And often there will be a seam there on a garment that has a collar, so that's an important one to know as well. Then we get into the chest and the bust. So on the chest or the bust, you're going to take these in the same way. You're going to measure around the widest part of your chest or bust. And you're going to make sure again that that tape measure is parallel to the ground. It's not dipping down because that's going to change your measurement. And it's going across the widest point of your bust or chest. Don't make it too tight. Just have it fit loosely, snugly loosely, we'll say. Okay. Then if you are a person who has breasts, you're going to want to take an under bust measurement as well. So that's usually going to be your band size of your bra is going to be somewhat of that measurement, but it's going to be right underneath, again, parallel to the floor, right underneath the breasts, where you flatten out underneath that fullness. Then you're going to do your waist. So now when we do our waist measurement, sometimes this will be the smallest part of your torso, sometimes it won't. The important thing to know, it's probably not where you wear your pants, unless you wear what we call high-waisted pants. So tie a ribbon or cord around your waist, again, snugly, loosely. And then you're going to do a couple twists this way. And that's going to move that cord into the place where your torso naturally wants to bend on itself, and that's your true waist. This is not necessarily where the garment's waist is going to be, but again, the garment maker needs to know where that is on your body so that they have an accurate representation of your body. It's not your hips. So a lot of us wear our jeans or our shorts here, like where mine are right now. That is not your waist. Your waist is where your torso naturally bends. So at this point, I've marked that on myself, and then I could take my measuring tape and get that measurement. And while you're at it, go ahead and leave that marking on. I'm going to take this off because I'm referencing from this, but I'll tie it here. So even though our dress form has a little tape on it already, I'll just leave this here so we can imagine that that is remaining on you, and then we're going to reference that with some other measurements. Okay, again, high hip. So that is where a lot of us think that our waist is, and that's going to be right where your hip bones. We're also going to measure that, again, making sure that you are staying parallel to the ground. This is where it's helpful to have someone help you or do it in a mirror. And then we're going to do our low hips. And the low hip is around your hips at the widest part. So where your booty comes out at that widest point. It's also helpful to notate how far below, especially for that low hip measurement, how far below the waistline that measurement was taken. So is it 6 inches? Is it 8 inches? Is it 10 inches? It's natural for us to have different sort of heights of where our booties land on ourselves. So that's, again, good information, especially if someone's making something that's very form-fitted for you. Okay, so that's sort of our basic around the body measurements. Now we get a little bit more into the weeds. So the center front to the waist measurement is going to be right in this hollow of your throat here, straight down to that tie that you tied around your waist. And then you're going to do the same thing in the back. Again, a buddy obviously is much easier for this. And that's going to be right at the nape of the neck, which is, if you bend your neck, it's a little where the bony vertebrae stick out there at the base, all the way to the center back. And then we have our across shoulder front measurements. So that is going to be, if you're looking straight on, kind of right where this shirt is a little off the shoulder. But if you had a seam sort of on a fitted t-shirt, think about that, right kind of where that seam hits your shoulder, where most of us have, if you bend your shoulder, that's where the ball joint sort of swings up. That's the measurement that we're looking for. So shoulder point to shoulder point is there. So you're going to do that across the front, and then you're going to do that across the back. And then you're going to do the same thing. The arm's eye is this shoulder seam here where the sleeve fits into the body of the garment. So you're going to do arm's eye to arm's eye is across the front from where that seam would hit, kind of across the rounded part of your chest. So there, and again, straight across the back like so. Okay, and then if you are a person who has breasts, we're gonna need a couple more measurements for that. Gonna look for the halter measurement, which is the nape to the bust point. So again, we're gonna find that point here, the back of the neck. There's a seam there on my dress form. And then we're gonna come straight down and we're gonna find the apex of the breast, which is the highest point, so right there. And that's if you had a halter garment, then that's the measurement that you would want to know what that is. And then we're going to also ask for the point to point. So that's apex to apex, right across the front, across the fullest points, point to point. Then we may ask you for something, you can either call it the princess line, or I'll call it a shoulder to center front waist. And that is going to be right in the middle of your shoulder, straight across the fullest part of your chest, straight down to that waistline right there. And then the same in the back, middle of the shoulder, straight down to the waistline. Okay. And then another important one to know, this is like if you're going to build a cape or something like that, is the center back to waist is there, and then continue that measurement all the way down to the floor in whatever shoe you're thinking to be wearing, and that's going to be center back to floor measurement. We're also going to take the same measurement but in the front, so it's center front to waist to floor. Now if you are having something built for you with long sleeves, we're going to need a sleeve measurement. So that is, we're going to take this from, and I'm right-handed, but I'm going to do this on my left, so it's easier. So the nape, the back, and we want to know to the shoulder. So that's right, again, where that the bony bit is there, and then continue it down to the elbow. Again, this is hard to do on yourself. And then continue that down to the wrist. So on me, that's like a 30.5. And that is the measurement that if you're making a man's dress shirt, that's where you get that measurement, the second measurement. So the first one is the neck, the base of the neck, and the second one is the length of the sleeves. And that goes from the back of the neck all the way down to the wrist, as opposed to the shoulder to the wrist. And then we ask for a shoulder seam measurement. So that's right where your neck ends and straight across again to that seam at the top of the shoulder. And the next one we may ask for is the outer arm, and that's similar to the sleeve, except we're just measuring from this outer point to the elbow and then continue to the wrist. And then we're going to continue that and do an underarm. And that's going to be not from the armpit, but kind of right where the armpit ends to the wrist. And then again, where the armpit ends, under the arm here to the waist. So that's going to be, this is your armhole, arm's eye measurement, straight down to the waist. And then we're going to ask for an arm's eye measurement. And so that's going straight around the arm here. And with this measurement, you want it to be, again, snug, but not too tight. And you should be able to close your arm closely around it, but not have it bind up. That's your arm's eye measurement. And then you'll do one with the bicep again, especially if you have a lot of muscles. You don't want it to be too tight, but you don't want it to be too loose. So a light flex is good. And then elbow, wrap that around your arm. And then you do want to bend your elbow because that's a much different measurement than if your elbow is not flexed. And record that. Forearm should be around the widest part of your forearm. And wrist is going to be around the smallest part of your wrist. If you're making gloves for somebody, you're going to want this measurement, which goes right around the palm of your hand. Okay, so that's it for the top of the body, and then we get into leg measurements. So the outseam one is going to go from the that waist tape that we put, and then I like to know where the knee hits on that. It's just a good sort of base to know. So down to right below where the knee hits is where you want to take that measurement, and then continue it all the way to the floor. And then the inseam is kind of where the crotch of your pant starts. So wherever the crotch of your pant connects to the leg of your pant is where you want to start that. You don't want to be too high. Again, a comfortable length, and then continue that to below the knee and then to the floor. Then we also sometimes will ask for the crotch depth, which if you sit in a chair is the length from that tape at your waist to where your butt hits the whatever you're sitting on. This isn't a good representation because it has like a curve on the cushion seat, so you just want something flat and hard so that you don't get that. It's about an inch of padding here that I'm dealing with, but it's this length here, and that's going to tell us how deep to make that crotch seam if we're making pants for you. Okay, and then girth. So girth is the distance around your torso through your legs. So you can start the tape measure at, again, this waist measurement, and then you're going to pull the tape measure all the way through your legs to the small of your back here. And that's the half girth. And then you can lengthen that to that hollow of your neck here. And again, having someone to help you, since this is all twisted now, also often longer than 60 inches, depending how tall you are. I'm sort of right there. So to the base of your neck, that is your full girth. And that's something that we would need if we're making bodysuits for somebody. That's a helpful measurement to have to make sure that it's not too short, because that is not comfortable. And then we just need a couple leg measurements. So if you're going to take your thigh measurement, you're going to take a short lunge forward to sort of flex the thigh, and you're going to measure around the widest part of that thigh. And then a below knee measurement is helpful if we're making breeches for you or short pants. If there's a band under the knee, that's a measurement that we'll need to take. So you'll take that, usually the smaller part of your leg right below your knee before it flares out into your calf. And then a calf measurement, which is the widest part of your leg. And then the last thing we may need is an ankle measurement, which is pretty self-explanatory. So that's sort of a basic run through of the measurements that I like if I'm going to be making something for someone. It seems like a lot. Believe me, it's going to make everyone's lives a lot easier in the long run, and everyone's going to be happier with the final product. So really try as hard as you can to get accurate measurements, grab a buddy, make an afternoon of it, have a drink, go wild, and really help your maker out by giving them some good measurements to take. It's always helpful if you have any concerns about fit or body that you know that you have, say like one shoulder is lower than the other. That's super common. I definitely have one like that. Other back issues that sort of throw things out of whack for you when you are wearing other clothes, and you can head those problems off at the pass with your maker. That's always super appreciated. Really any and all information you can provide to them is only going to make everybody happier with the final product. Hope this helps, and I will have this measurement sheet available on my website for download for free if you'd like it. If you're anticipating needing to get measurements for anything, bridesmaid dresses, tuxedos, anything like that, or if you're looking to have something made, it's a good thing to have just in life, to know what sizes you are and to be able to provide that if people need them. So if you feel free to head on over to paisleyandglue.com and check that out and download it, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about anything, if anything wasn't clear, and I will be happy to answer them. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.